Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by Sean Little at Chicago Flow from MSG Networks on Twitter and the Action Network app, and Michael Fiddle at Fiddle's Picks on Twitter and the Action Network app. He hosts the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast, as well as a daily Twitter show running down all the games in the NBA where the market is. You're going to learn a lot of great stuff with Fiddle. As a reminder, the stuff we talk about today will be found in the award-winning Action Network app, where you can tell stuff like Thunder to win the title minus 120 that I'm going to have to log like 70 times because pros here at Action, our experts, are limited in the unit size that we can put in. And so I have to like go in and be like, and 3 units, and 3 units again, and 3 units again. But I'm going to have to because I'm putting a lot in on the Thunder to win the title based off of where I think the number is right now. We'll talk about that in just a second. Also, check out youtube.com/The Action Network because you get NBA is coming into the home stretch. You get buckets, playoff pitch, covering baseball to get you through those months. Wuckets, our WNBA bucket show. Okay, with Jim Turvey, everyone's favorite from the Future Jays, Jim Turvey, and a host of characters betting the WNBA. You get the favorites talking off-season NFL. They just had an episode that broke down what's going on with the underdogs, right? Like, why are favorites winning so much? What's happening with underdog betting over the last couple of years? And it's really fascinating. Go check that out with the favorites. There's so much great stuff happening in Action, and you can find all of our video content at youtube.com/The Action Network. We have only one game because the Cavaliers did not just. Okay, okay, okay. So, yes, I bet the Cavs, and yes, I bet them to win the title. And that was live for about an hour. Sean, how the. I do not understand this Cavs team. And, like, I might be out on Kenny Atkinson in a very big way. Playing Darius Garland down the stretch of that game was a disaster. How, again, I'm just going to go back to this. You are not the 2016 Warriors. This is not the Splash Brothers. You have a great offense. You had the best offense in the league this season. You had an awesome offense. You really did. But, like, you weren't the most explosive offense we've ever seen. You were just like the elite offense this season. You weren't going to beat the Pacers with. You had to be balanced, and they fell into this trap. And I'm just very pissed off that Cavs 60-1 from preseason, which looks so good, is dead because Atkinson. I think I understand the injuries, and that's what Cavs fans will point to. I think Atkinson boned the series, Sean.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's no excuses in the playoffs. I understand that. Those guys, clearly Garland wasn't right and shouldn't have been on the floor. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. But when it comes down to it, the only guy that I believe is truly tough and has any real playoff type of mental toughness seems to be Donovan Mitchell. Jared Allen absolutely disappeared down the stretch in a game where he's asked to do specific things: play D, rotate on defense, clean up the glass, and just wasn't impactful whatsoever in that sense the last couple games. I was a big believer in the Cavs going into the playoffs. My finals pick was Cavs Thunder. That was what I was going with. I thought the Cavs were so deep, so balanced, ahead of the curve when it came to filling out the roster and how you want to play. And the team that's really ahead of the curve is the Indiana Pacers. They actually have went contrarian, continue to not bend to anybody else's rules, continue to keep running with pace in the playoffs. Everyone else is saying, hey, you got to get in the half court. You're going to have to do a lot of things in the half court to make this thing work in the playoffs. They don't care. They've been going out and running up and down. The Cleveland Cavaliers were in complete control of the game the other night. And then in the second quarter, Halliburton comes down, hits a couple threes where they were all wide open looks for the most part, and they essentially crumbled. There was no, like after that, there was no punchback from the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you go back 2 years ago, Knicks, Cavs, the Knicks beat the shit out of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Essentially, everyone called them soft. The Knicks called them soft. That's exactly how it felt in that series. They ended up losing. 2 years later, personally, I thought those days were done. A lot more battle tested, a lot more experience under their belt. And any resistance and any type of pressure that they got from the Pacers, they couldn't withstand, and they folded. That's bottom line, the word you can use. They folded. Garland missed a lot of games throughout the year, even in the playoffs here, and they still were able to execute at a lot higher frequency than they did in this series. I was very disappointed in what I saw in the Cleveland Cavaliers. Salute to Donovan Mitchell. He continues to be that guy, but the other guys are going to need to grow up a little bit, and that's kind of the same thing we've been saying for multiple years now.
Fiddle, I'm gonna ask you this question, and if you don't have it now, you can get to me on a future episode because I know that you're gonna be on later this week too. Um, what has been the most overrated team by the market, do you think, in the NBA playoffs? Where do you think the market has been the most ahead of the team?
And in a sense that it hasn't worked out, you're asking.
Yeah.
It's a really good question. I would actually just say it's the general sentiment to continue to fade the Pacers. I mean, the Cavaliers had so many spots where they were the sharp side. This most recent game was an obvious example of that.
Yep.
There was many instances in the Bucks series, while Dame was coming back, and then even when Dame was out, there was a sentiment to take the Bucks at a long number and have them cover the spread. But there's just been money coming against the Pacers pretty consistently. And I would say that's probably been the surprise. There's also been money on Oklahoma City seemingly every single game right before the tip. And they've been winning, but they haven't really been covering as often. So if there were any two that I would pick off, I would say the fade of Indiana and the purchase of these long numbers on OKC spreads.
I can't believe that I'm like the Pacers are doing this and I'm not in on them. Like I love this team. I liked them last year. We made a lot of money off them last year. And I was just like, I looked at the path and was like, I don't really like that path for them. And I should have just been like, this team is good and they're undervalued by the market and I should have been in on them. Meanwhile, Oklahoma City takes care of business versus the Denver Nuggets, get another clutch win in game 5. They got a chance to close out in game 6 on Thursday. We'll do best bets for that game. The Oklahoma City Thunder are minus 140 consensus in the market. However, they are minus 120 at DraftKings. I make it minus 140. And so I am betting them. That's like one of my best bets for this episode is just Thunder to win championship minus 120. I would have liked Boston versus the Thunder, and I probably would have liked Cavs versus the Thunder. But as much as I like the Pacers, I do not like Pacers versus Thunder, and I do not like Knicks versus Thunder. So both of those combos I think are difficult. Now the Knicks have continued to be like, hey, like Brandon talked about it yesterday, right? Like, oh, they didn't beat any of these good teams. Well, now they're beating good teams. They're gonna knock off the Celtics team. Um, I don't know if they're gonna get past Indiana. At this point, if you were like squirt gun to your head, where are the finals gonna be? I would be like, it's Thunder over Pacers. So I will bet that as well as an exacta, but I think minus 120 is too short a price by about 20 cents. Fiddle, do you have an idea of what you would want that number to be as a buy point? Is this a good enough for you? Do you think they should be like, I'm not asking you for, if you don't have an exact number, I'm not asking you the exact, but I would love to know your thoughts on the minus 120 figure at DraftKings for the Thunder to win the NBA title.
I agree with you. I think anything below minus 140 is a good Thunder investment. The biggest, question mark the Thunder have moving forward is can they get out of this series with Denver? They're 3-2, and if Denver and Jokic take one at home, it's a game 7 atmosphere where you have an experienced team against a young team, and anything can happen in that situation. But if you look forward and project, I guess the Wolves do match up well, but Thunder are going to be a 12.5 point favorite at home and a 7 point favorite on the road. And the same thing happens in the NBA finals, whether you play the Knicks or the Pacers. The series price is going to be minus 500 or longer. If we look at the way the Cavs were just priced against the Pacers, it was minus 500. Serious money came in on the Cavaliers, and the Pacers still won out. And I think the Thunder are higher power rated than the Cavaliers before this series. So therefore, you could project it to be longer than minus 500 on the Thunder. And so for that reason, if the Thunder simply make it through the Nuggets series and you are holding a minus 140 ticket because of the 2 series remaining, and because of how big of favorites the Thunder will be, it will be outrightly double hedgeable. Like you will be able to take a cut at Wolves on this series and cover your risk factor, and then you'll be able to come back in if the Thunder still win and come back in on the Pacers. It is such a good price. I don't plan to, but it just say the you will be afforded so many outs that it's worth actually taking a cut of this. And Matt, I've been doing the same thing. My max exposure is generally 3 units. This is one where I'm definitely going above that because of the amount of outs and the amount of ways to reduce back and open middles. And you could eventually take, Wolves plus the points as your Thunder series ticket carries on in situations like that with indirect hedges and working off the other way. So I love Thunder to win the title. I think the competition is really thinning out around them. I think the prices in the series moving forward are going to project dominant Thunder series.
I make the Thunder. My numbers are updating. Sean, what are your kind of thoughts? Like, who do you like? Here's a very just sports talk question: who's going to be in the finals, my man? Like, who do you think is who's going to be in the finals at this point?
Yeah, I mean, you know my motto. If you feel like only time I print a futures ticket is if I feel like a number is never going to exist again. I'm with Fiddle and you as well, Matt. You're never ever going to see the Thunder at -120 again to win the title.
Well,
So
hang on. Okay, so
Unless
that's
unless the Nuggets win Game 6, which is why I'm also taking -4.5. Because if you're investing in one, you should invest in both. And I know from pre-show, Sean is also with me on that -4.5.
well, I shouldn't. Well, I said never again because I like the Thunder to close out the game. So I was seeing a little bit in the future there. I understand what you're saying, but in my opinion, you're never going to see the Thunder at -120 again. I've been pounding on this podcast for months on why you should take the Thunder to win the West because you just like Fiddle laid out. I thought they were going to have no problem getting to the Western Conference Finals, and you were going to have so many outs if you wanted to even make money on both sides. If they got to the Western Conference Finals, which I was very confident they would and would win the West. So I think it's going to be, I got to go Knicks, of course. Knicks, Thunder in the finals. People forget, I mean, as much as I like the Pacers, it was 2-0 with a very tired Knicks banged up squad, and OG Anunoby goes down, they lose 4 in a row. That was the final straw that broke the camel's back was OG going down. The Knicks were handling and doing
yeah,
what
but
was
they were
necessary.
such a different team then, Sean. Like they were
Yeah,
way different.
you could argue they're potentially a little better here if we want to get on the nitty
Yeah,
gritty of.
they're better, but the matchups are different. I would agree with that.
Sure. No doubt about it. So different squads, understood. It's going to be really tight. I'm not going to not pick the Knicks. Well, how about we put it like that? So I'll go
I
Knicks
get you. I
and
mean,
the
look,
Thunder.
I don't make this like a huge. I don't make the Pacers a huge favorite versus the Knicks. I kind of said that on the show.
It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
think they're going to talk shit. I think Halliburton is really into being the villain in these playoffs.
Mhm.
And I also think that's a big reason why people don't want to back the Pacers is because a lot of people don't like Halliburton. That's part of this market here. If you like it or not, if you're a super analytical guy or not, I think the price has been mispriced. It was mispriced on the Celtics because last year because a lot of people didn't think Tatum and Brown could get it done, and they were gonna drive that shit into the ocean. It ended up making us quite a bit of money, Matt. We talked about it year in, year out. People were driving the narrative all year about the Thunder. They can't win the West. They're too young, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They positioned themselves in the last 2 games to win the West. So you just gotta try to get ahead of these markets. And if you've been on the Pacers, like some people have, you've been ahead and you've been able to make some money.
Guys, we can easily calculate the Knicks versus Pacers series price right here, and it's pretty eye-opening. It's probably going to be Knicks -140 or 135 and Pacers +125, because if you simply look at what the Pacers conference odds are, and then you look at Knicks and Celtics, like the Pacers odds to win the conference isn't going to change much, right? It's like the slim chance of opponent that would deter that. They're not going to have home court. So you essentially take the market hold of the Celtics and reapply it to the Knicks and keep the Pacers where they are. And you'll have it Knicks -140, Pacers 125 going into that series.
I'm marking this down as Fiddle's prediction. -140.
Fiddle's prediction. Take the Knicks minus 140.
Knicks, Pacers. So you like the Knicks there?
I do. I'm with Sean that
Wow.
I look at the matchup history and I think the Knicks only got better with adding Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns. Now, Randall didn't play. Isaiah Hartenstein was big in that series. DiVincenzo was big in that series, but I'm hoping Mitchell Robinson can stay on the court a little bit. But I do think it's really a Miles Turner versus Karl Anthony Town, and which of those is going to be a linchpin? It's Brunson versus Halliburton, which will finally be able to determine which one of those should be better. And they remember when they faced off in the WWE. We're gonna have
great.
that moment clipped
so
all
great.
over again.
That's so awesome.
I will be on the Knicks and hoping for better than a minus 140, but that's probably where I think the price comes in and a little bit of steam I'm predicting on the Knicks.
It's
Last
amazing.
point here, Matt.
Go ahead.
Really quick, last point here on the Knicks and this Pacer spot. I think I was messaging before. Let's be very clear. I thought the Knicks would have a really, really, really hard time with the Boston Celtics. But conversation I had prior to the series was I think it's a better matchup offensively for the Knicks versus the Celtics versus the Pistons. The Pistons were just trying to muck up the game as much as humanly possible and frustrate Jalen Brunson. I will say, if you go back and watch the Knicks versus the Pistons, there was a stretch where any time the Pistons pressed Jalen Brunson and the Knicks completely melted. No team has pressed the Knicks since, for whatever reason. And who knows who's listening to this pod, doesn't matter, right? But I would say that gave them a lot of trouble. Pressing them gave them a lot of trouble. They were so physical. Thompson, the rest of them, Tobias on Cat, they gave him a lot of trouble. The Celtics allow the Knicks offensively to play just a little more free. They're not as physical. They're not as rah-rah and want to get up in you. They're just going to try to offensively kind of overwhelm you and then get defensive stops. I think it's very similar with the Pacers. They're going to let you offensively kind of play free roaming, and I think that plays into the Knicks' hands.
Okay, you do understand that they just like absolutely shut down the number one offense in the NBA, and you understand that like
The mentally soft number one offense in the NBA outside of Donovan Mitchell. But yes, they were banged up. And look, I mean, I know it's the playoffs, and I know there's no excuses, but this it's a different series if
you guys
Garland's
really think
fully healthy and Mobley is healthy.
you guys really think Tibbs is winning three playoff series?
Would you, Matt? They just beat the fucking Boston Celtics. They went up 3-1 on the Boston Celtics. They went up 3-1 on the Boston Celtics and got it done. I mean, it is what it is. The proof is in the pudding. Can he win 3 series? Of course he can.
Okay. I make Knicks Pacers minus 133. So I'm gonna have to be on Pacers. I don't disagree. Like I might get into the matchup stuff and be like, oh no, like that the Knicks won this regular season series. It might be terrible. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like I've nailed these playoffs. I haven't. It's been rough for me. So it's entirely possible that Fiddle and Sean are on the right side of this. I would actually lean towards you should probably trust them in this situation. But regardless, I think that I don't think any of these teams are getting past OKC. Now, I like the Wolves matchup versus OKC a lot. I like that matchup a lot. But the problem is I ran numbers this morning and it came out at 81% OKC. I got a minus 429 on OKC. I'm just not like, I am not able to justify. I'm not going to be able to bet Minnesota unless the market is way far ahead of me. And like, look, I gave the Thunder a 2-point downgrade based off of it's the playoffs. They're young. Look at how clunky things kind of are. They're inexperienced. They do kind of stall out. They are mistake prone. Denver is hanging in the series. I gave them a 2-point drop, and I still make this at that number. I haven't upgraded Minnesota because Minnesota's like, they are basically what they were in the regular season. A really good time, a really, really, really good team that fucks around a lot. That's who they are. Like they're just a really good team that fucks around a lot and doesn't hit their ceiling as often as they need to. Okay, well, this will be interesting to kind of see how this plays out. But we got predictions about the finals here, and you can use those in the betting market. Let's do some best bets for what's tomorrow? Thursday. In the NBA playoffs. We have one game on the slate. The Denver Nuggets taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Nuggets are a 4.5-point home dog in this spot. 217 is the total. Open 219. Fiddle, a lot of money coming in on the under here. This is down to 217.5. 217 is the best for the over at Caesars. You can get Bet Rivers has a 217.5, but this pretty much 217 consensus in the market. Nuggets are plus 170 to win the game outright. So we're going to do best bets. But before I do that, the WNBA season is tipped off. And if you're an Action Pro subscriber, our brand new WNBA projections are now available in the Action Network app. Whether you're looking for an edge betting WNBA sides, totals, or player props, those markets are so soft, guys. Still, you're going to get such a massive edge with the opportunities that if you're able to use the projections in the best way. Action Pro projections are the perfect tool for your toolbox this season. If you aren't an Action Pro subscriber, you can get $20 off an annual subscription with code BUCKETS20. Just visit actionnetwork.com/pro to sign up and use code BUCKETS20 for $20 off the annual price. Let's do best bets for this one game 6 in the NBA playoffs. And I'm not even going to ask you guys to go around the horn because we've already teased them, and I'm just going to say them. Fiddle and Sean are on Thunder -4.5. I'm on Nuggets +4.5. I'm on MPJ's points over. Fiddle, take it away.
This one's pretty simple for me, and I'll throw in a fun prop to add in at the end. I don't get how we're at OKC -4.5. After the last 2 games that they were in Denver, they were a -6.5 and a -7. I always go back to where were previous games priced and how are we changing 3 points. The same thing I agree with the total here. We're down to 217. The previous game's close was 221.5. Prior to that, it was like 224.5. We are sinking this line too far as a reaction to the recent results some of these times. Now, going under as a series progressive is a normal thing. Having the series tighten or the price tighten as it goes to a game 6 where the Nuggets should be the more desperate team is understandable here, but I don't see that as being 3 points. There has been consistent action on the Thunder pre-tip with pretty much every single game these playoffs. So I think that action comes in again. I think we close at 5.5, and I think I'll grab a 4.5, and I'll be happy with that process. And the prop is Isaiah Hartenstein double-double, 2-to-1 odds, +200, because he's been getting the minutes, and he just hasn't matched the production of rebounds and points on the same game, but hopefully it comes this one. But he's been playing consistently 30-plus minutes, has had games with 10-plus rebounds, has had game with 10-plus points. I think it's just a good number at a number that was minus odds the entire regular season down the stretch, so I'll take that at +200.
I have a trend. Back you guys up. Teams in game 6 down 3-2, coming off of a loss in game 5. You would think like this is the bounce back spot, right? Like, okay, they got the home spot and then you win here. No. 39 and 55 straight up, 42%. 38, 55 and 1, only 41% ATS since 2003. If they are dogs at home in this spot, it's even worse. 8 and 23 straight up, 26%. 11 and 20 ATS, 35.5%. Great trend spot for the Oklahoma City Thunder as well. Sean, give me your cap on why you want Thunder -4.5.
I had as an underdog in game 6 here, I had that trend written down. So I'm glad you laid that out. 8 and 23 straight up and right around 11 and I don't know the exact number on the ATS, but I had the straight up number. Thunder, number's too low. I just, in my gut, before I even started going through everything, -4.5 was too low. I also thought 10.5 in a 2-2 spot, essentially a game 7 feel, was too many points for the Denver Nuggets. I didn't play it. I should have. I missed a bet there. I thought that was way too hefty of a number, but I didn't want to root against my big picture Thunder play as well. But this feels very deja vu-ish to me, especially when I started getting to the trends that Matt just laid out. Feels like a bounce back spot, but historically it hasn't been. Feels very deja vu-ish for me of last year's Nuggets run against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Last year in game 5, Jokic empties the clip to make it 3-2 in favor of the Denver Nuggets. Third straight win. 40 on 15 of 22, 2 of 3 from deep, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, 13 dimes, 7 boards, 0 turnovers. Historic playoff performance from Jokic. It's exactly what we're coming off of in this game, in the previous game from Jokic. 1 day rest. Game 6, they get obliterated. They lose by 45 points. 115-70. They're down 19 at the half, and Jokic starts the game extremely slow. 3 of 8 from the floor in the first quarter, 6 points, 1 rebound, no assists, played all 12 minutes. Murray started that quarter 0 for 5, never bounced back. They were down 19 at the half and couldn't get it done. Gobert, Cat looked fresher. Minnie was deeper. That is the Oklahoma City Thunder in a nutshell, and I think that's how they show up in this game. It really just, I can hear the mute button, Matt. Go ahead.
No, you're
Come
good.
in.
You're
I
good.
was gonna say, I heard the mute button unmute. I thought you had something for me, but I believe Jokic emptied the clip. It was he knew how important that game was for them to try to get and then go home and close it out in game 6. This feels very deja vu-ish to last year where he emptied it and then didn't have enough to start that game coming back off another 1 day rest. I have to back the Oklahoma City Thunder here. 4.5 is too short. I would have this game closer to 6 or 6.5. I don't trust what's going on with Denver. I know we're talking about Michael Porter Jr. here in a second, but he's hurt, man. It's pretty clear. Horrid in this season, in this series. Westbrook, of course, trick or treat. AG's been consistent, but didn't clean the glass like he did the other night, like he has in the series the other night. In the first half, Nuggets won the glass 27-17. 7 offensive boards to 2. That's what's really been keeping them in this series and keeping this series competitive. In the second half, the Thunder won the glass 26-22, ended up tucking the game away. I think the Nugs initially may be able to get a lift in this game, being at home, being in their building, but the Thunder wear them down, cover the number, win the series, and we go to the Western Conference Finals.
I think you've talked me off of it. I think both of you have talked me off of it. I think I'm off of it.
Just
So
wait
David,
till tip and play it at +5.5.
David, our producer, can go ahead and eliminate that quick slip from my bets. I'm not going to take Thunder, or I'm not going to take Nuggets. The counterpoint here is one, every time, like, here's a good overall stat. The Nuggets with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic in the lineup in the playoffs, coming off of a loss, are 10-4 straight up. They win. They're very rarely at home as a dog. It's only been 3 times. They're 2-1 in those spots, straight up in ATS, obviously. And so it's like, I don't think that Yoke emptied the clip. I do think David Adelman did. I think him playing Yoke and Jamal Murray without a rest in the fourth quarter was a catastrophic mistake. It cost them that game. They tried to steal that game as opposed to playing the long game. And if they had just been like normal rotation, up, okay, we lost, no big deal, I would like them a lot more in game 6. But now it's not like 5 minutes or it's really 4. It's not like 4 minutes of game time. It makes a huge difference from an exhaustion standpoint. I really don't. But I do think you send the message, we're trying to get this one, and you come up short. I want to come back to Fiddle in a second on a question here. I do think that that's relevant, but this is the other problem I got here. One, if you're doing this, you should just play the money line for the Nuggets, especially if the home team loses down 3-2. Okay, home team loses down 3-2. Here's the ATS number since 2003. You ready for this? 3-69, 4.2%. They do not cover if they lose. So that means conversely, if OKC wins this game, it's 69-3 on a cover in the spot in game 6 as a road team. So that's a pretty strong trend. Those combos get me off of the Nuggets here. The reason I wanted Nuggets is I just feel like this is always how it was going to go. I thought the Thunder were going to blow them out in game 5, and the fact that they didn't actually is more worrisome to me from my OKC standpoint. Like, they should be getting better separation in these games, and they're not. Like, they're underperforming here, Fiddle. I think that's one thing to consider with, like, the number, and I'll come back to you on this in a second, is like, I don't think OKC has played to level, and it's like, well, then they should. Well, Maybe not. Like either the power rating is off or the matchup is causing a differential in the power rating result. One of those two things is resulting in the fact that they can't cover these spreads the way that you would expect them to. I would have thought they would have gotten more than one blowout in the series. And they have one. Now, the fact that they've won the clutch games is very promising for I think their long-term prospects, right? They go in one of two games versus Denver. I think they do that. I just don't know if they're going to win game 6 on the road, altitude, season on the line, last stand. But I think the points that you made have gotten me off of it. So I will go ahead with that. Before I do the MPJ prop, Fiddle, I do want to ask you. You kind of said like, how do we move from minus it was 6 in game 3?
7 the last game that was in Denver.
How do we move to that to this spot? Isn't it that like I get what you're saying, which is the numbers you should not have adapted power rating off of these last 3 games.
Yep.
But the fact that Denver has now covered 3 straight games, is that not indicative at all of the potential? Like game 4, I was on Thunder and I was mad they didn't cover. But like the fact they've covered 3 straight games, doesn't that have to move, especially as you said in the game 6 elimination spot, doesn't that have to move that power rating down some?
Yes, you're definitely correct there. It definitely should a little bit. It's kind of similar to Knicks and Celtics, and the Celtics were a 5.5 spread going into the final game, prior to the Tatum when he was healthy and everything. And the Knicks took clear action late in the market because they've been covering. The only thing that gets me to still be able to back it, Matt, while I do agree, I don't think it should be going, all the way from 7 to 4.5, but the reason why, so I think it should come down maybe to 5.5 is where it should be. And the reason why I'm still willing to back it is because of the late game fouling and the situation where if the Denver Nuggets season is over potentially, they're going to foul with 4 seconds left, with 6 seconds left. So you should get that 2 possession threshold more easily, considering this is a potential elim game for the Nuggets. And it's been easier for me to take these great teams when it's less than 2 possessions and skip the time when they're home favorites of minus 10.5. Like I didn't bother betting the minus 10.5, even though late action came in on it. We were doing buckets live, and at halftime it was like, oh, this is a great time to pick off that OKC minus 4.5 that we gave out live. But I'm more willing to do it when it is this 4.5 number and below that foul threshold, if that helps answer it.
Okay. Michael Porter Jr. over 9.5 points. You can get this at FanDuel at plus 100. Fanatics, actually, I'm sorry, is at plus 100. FanDuel's minus 125. Fanatics is your best book for the MPJ prop. Okay. This is part of the like a name prop. Now I don't know that he's gonna take it. I have to be extremely clear about this point. I do not talk to anyone in the Nuggets training staff. I have no contact with them whatsoever. I don't have any contact with MPJ or his agent. I do not have his phone number. I do not have any of those phone numbers. This is entirely based off of MPJ's public comments after game 3. Okay. After game 3, running you back through this, he said, yeah, I'm getting an injection. And they were like, is that, I think it was like Tormadol or whatever the standard injection is. And he was like, no, it's lidocaine. Which again, he will never say again. Like you're never going to get that kind of injury information out of a player, nor should you. Like I'm not saying that Mike did anything wrong because I think it's Mike's injury information for him to share. I don't have any problem with Michael Porter Jr. saying that at all. But he said like I have to kind of like stretch it out. You can't take it repeatedly. And I decided that game 3 was kind of where I wanted to. We really wanted to get this game. So he took it in game 3 and he goes over. We play the under in game 4. We play the under in game 5. Hit. It's now been a week. About this is their season. Probably takes it in game 6. If he doesn't, they're saving it for game 7. So the idea was we roll over the money from the last wins into this one and then take the over. But I'm just telling you, like, one, he can go over even if he doesn't take the shot. Like, he can just knock down some shots if the shoulder feels better that day. Or he could take the shot and then not do it because the Oklahoma City Thunder have been like, hey, maybe we shouldn't leave that guy open after game 3. They started defending him a lot better in game 4. There's all sorts of ways that this goes sideways. But I will tell you, he is like, Sean's right. He has to, in the locker room, ask people to help him take his jersey off. This guy's fighting through so much. Go watch his rebounds, and you're going to see a guy grabbing the ball with one arm because he cannot use the other one. He can't lift it. He can't extend it. But the treatment does help. So I think he goes over in this game, and then we're back on the under in game 7. That's my read. That's the MPJ over prop for this game. From an OKC standpoint, J-Dub over points and assists is probably going to be another one that I'm going to like here because he's just getting more and more confident. Like he's really starting to get going. I also do not know how we missed on Case and Wallace yesterday, 5.5. I do not know how we got under that number. So frustrating. Shout out Lou Dort though for making those threes, much to Sean's delight after the Dort escalator that Brandon Anderson took. All right, Fiddle and Sean are on Thunder -4.5. I have been scared off like a scared little girl in a horror house, and now I am horror house, and now I am just on MPJ over 9.5 points. We'll have some other props. I'll have a full write up on this game tomorrow. Might have a total play depending on what I see when I look into the numbers. Check that out on Action Network. My thanks to David Payne and Gifford Gould, our producers. We'll see you guys again next time. Check Buckets live, 10:30 Eastern, Wednesday and Thursday night. Reacting to the games, get you set for all the action. Till next time, let's get buckets.